All right, welcome to another deep dive. And today we're taking a close look at V-Guard Industries.
V-Guard Industries Ltd, yeah.
Their Q2 FY25 financials, to be precise.
Looking at both their official report and also their investor presentation.
You know, our listeners probably already know V-Guard.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Big player in the Indian light electricals market.
Exactly. So we're going to skip right to the good stuff, you know. How'd they actually do this quarter?
Well, they had, let's see, a 14.1%
Oh, that's a good number.
year-over-year revenue increase.
Okay.
Hitting RS, 1,293.99 crore.
RS, 1,293.99 crore.
Which is, pretty healthy, especially when you consider,
Considering.
the monsoon season was pretty long this year.
Right.
Which, historically can dampen consumer spending a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes sense. People are probably not out shopping as much when it's, raining cats and dogs all the time.
Exactly.
So that's really impressive. 14.1% year-over-year increase.
It is. It is.
And I was reading that their managing director, Mr. Mithun Chittalapalli, seems quite happy with this performance.
Yeah, he attributed this growth to solid performance, pretty much across the board.
Right, across all the different business segments.
All their segments.
Well, let's break those down then.
Yeah, let's do that.
What were the, what were the stars of the show?
Well, electronics, which is your stabilizers,
Right.
UPS systems, inverters, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those led the charge, I guess you could say, with an 18.8% growth.
Okay, 18.8, so almost 19%.
Yeah, but honestly, it's worth noting that all the segments,
Oh, really?
they all saw double-digit growth.
Wow.
Year over year.
Okay.
Which I think, says something about V-Guard meeting a pretty wide range of
Needs?
Yeah, consumer needs, exactly.
So even with the monsoon, they still managed to get double-digit growth in every single segment.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm curious, though, how did those, those segment revenue increases, how did those translate into actual profits? Was it, smooth sailing there as well?
So looking at the profits, electronics still took the top spot.
Makes sense.
With a 37.7% profit increase.
Okay, so good revenue growth and good profit growth.
Yeah, but the real surprise for me, at least, was consumer durables.
Okay, what about them?
They saw a 125.5% profit jump.
Hold on, wait. That's massive.
It is, it is.
125% profit jump. I mean, the revenue growth was good, but it wasn't, that high.
Yeah, it was more moderate.
So what's driving that profit jump?
Right. That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests that they've either become much more efficient in that segment.
Yeah.
Maybe they've, streamlined operations.
Right.
Or they're sourcing.
Okay.
Or maybe they've made a strategic shift towards higher margin product.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that.
So that's something to think about. Something to ponder. Meanwhile, their recent Sunflame acquisition, I was reading, that didn't fare as well.
Yeah, Sunflame, yeah.
The profits dipped significantly there.
Yeah, it looks like that integration might be a little bumpy.
Yeah, maybe some growing pains. But before we, get too deep into Sunflame, let's talk geography for a second. V-Guard, they've traditionally been stronger in South India, right?
That's right, yeah. Historically, that's their stronghold.
So how did those different regions perform this quarter?
Well, this quarter, both South and non-South markets actually did quite well.
Oh, okay.
But non-South actually outpaced the South.
Really?
With a 16.9% jump.
Okay.
Compared to the South's 13.6%.
So they're not just, a regional player anymore.
It seems that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. This growth in non-South markets, it brings up a kind of an interesting question. Are they deliberately trying to become a truly national brand?
It's worth thinking about for sure.
Yeah, it is, especially when you look at the revenue split.
Right.
Non-South now contributes 44.5% of total revenue,
which is
almost neck and neck with the South.
Almost there, yeah.
Okay, so let's move beyond just the revenue and the profit and talk about their overall financial health.
Sure.
What are the key indicators telling us?
Well, their gross margin that expanded by a healthy 2 percentage points.
Wow.
Reaching 35.8%.
Okay.
And then EBITDA also saw a solid increase of 19.2%.
So those are both good signs.
Yeah, those are both really strong indicators of, financial health.
Yeah.
They're getting better at turning revenue into profit.
Right. Becoming more efficient.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think it was the managing director who was saying that this efficiency is linked to a few different things.
Yeah.
Stable commodity prices.
Right, which is a relief, I'm sure, after all the supply chain issues in recent years.
For sure. And then also greater focus on in-house manufacturing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it gives them more control over their costs.
More control. And then also cost-saving initiatives across the board.
Yeah.
So smart management at work.
Smart management. And then also, I think this is an interesting one, a gradual shift towards a more premium product portfolio.
So they're trying to go up market a little bit.
It seems that way, yeah.
Yeah, that's a risky move. But it could pay off.
If they can command higher prices.
Right, exactly. If consumers are willing to pay a premium for the V-Guard quality.
Yeah. Well, let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. Although it's not it's not all smooth sailing.
Not all smooth sailing.
They did mention that margins in the wires category were a bit squeezed.
Yeah, wires.
Due to volatile copper prices.
Copper. Always a roller coaster.
Right. So, even a well-managed company can still be impacted by...
Forceful factor.
Right, those external factors, like commodity prices.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of financial health, let's talk cash flow for a second.
Sure.
They made a pretty big acquisition with Sunflame.
Yeah, they did.
So how's their cash flow looking?
Well, they generated
a lot.
A pretty impressive Rs, 335.76 crore for the first half of FY25.
Okay.
Which is basically flat.
Okay.
Compared to last year.
Okay, so even with that.
Even with the Sunflame acquisition.
Wow. So what are they doing with all that cash?
Well, it sounds like they're using it wisely.
How so?
They've been paying down the debt that they took on to acquire Sunflame.
Okay.
And they actually expect to be completely debt-free.
Really?
By the end of the fiscal year.
That's a really positive sign.
Yeah, it is.
For investors.
It shows responsible financial management.
It does, yeah. It sounds like they're walking the walk.
Not just talking the talk.
Exactly. So, they're managing their financials well.
They are.
They're expanding geographically. And they're aiming for a more premium product portfolio.
That's right.
But let's circle back to Sunflame for a second.
Yeah.
We know that profits dipped.
They did.
Could this be more than just, typical post-acquisition growing pains?
Well, revenue remains stable, but that profit dip does raise some questions. Are there maybe deeper integration challenges?
Okay.
Maybe difficulties aligning, Sunflame's operations with V-Guard's existing structure?
Makes sense. And they also released an investor presentation.
They did, yep.
Which I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It shows transparency.
It does.
And they're communicating.
And with their stakeholders.
Exactly, yeah. So what are some of the interesting details that they shared?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was, they highlighted their dominant market share in voltage stabilizers. They hold commanding 45% of the market.
Wow, so they're really the clear leader in that category.
They are.
But what about other areas?
Well, they have a much smaller share
in other
areas like UPS systems.
Okay.
And fans.
Okay, so some areas of strength, some areas where they have room to grow.
It's a mixed bag, I guess you could say.
Yeah. What else did the presentation reveal?
Well, they included some market size estimates for various product categories.
Okay.
And also some growth rate estimates as well.
Okay.
Which is, it's valuable context for understanding V-Guard's performance.
Right, for sure.
And some of these markets like fans and water heaters, they're pretty large and growing steadily.
So there's definitely a significant opportunity for V-Guard if they can increase their market share in those areas.
Big if.
Yeah.
Because they'll be facing some stiff competition.
Yeah, for sure. From well-established players.
From the big guys.
Yeah. So what's the overall outlook for V-Guard for the rest of the year?
You mean, are they feeling optimistic?
Yeah, are they feeling good about the future?
Well, Mr. Chiliolapli, he certainly is.
Okay.
He expects V-Guard to maintain its momentum.
Okay.
And deliver strong performance in the second half of the year.
Well, that's good news.
It is.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how things unfold. But, from what we've seen so far, it seems like V-Guard's in a pretty good position.
Yeah, they are.
They're managing their financials well. They're expanding strategically.
Yep.
And they're aiming for that more premium market.
That's right.
But, of course, there are challenges, too.
Always.
That Sunflame integration.
Yeah.
And then those competitive pressures.
Mm.
But, as you said earlier, it's a fascinating story to follow.
It is. It is.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
For sure. So what stands out to you from all this information? What are your key takeaways so far?
Well, to me, what's really interesting is that it's almost like they're standing at a crossroads.
A crossroads?
Yeah. They're dominant in some areas.
Right.
But they have significant room to grow in others.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, do they double down on their strengths?
Right.
Or do they try to aggressively pursue growth in those, less penetrated markets?
That's a great question. It's almost like they have, a superpower.
A superpower.
But they can really use it in certain situations.
Right. Like maybe they have this amazing voltage stabilizer power, but it doesn't really work in the fan market.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's a fascinating dilemma. And, it'll be really interesting to see what path they choose.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive,
where we'll explore those choices in more detail.
Exactly.
And what they might mean for V-Guard's future.
Until then, keep diving deep.
Keep diving.
Yeah, it does highlight those strategic choices they got to make.
It does.
And speaking of choices, that investor presentation had some interesting details about market share.
Right.
I was particularly struck by their dominant position in voltage stabilizers, but then a much smaller presence in those other areas.
Right, yeah.
Like we were just talking about.
It's that contrast that's so interesting.
It is.
I mean, could they use that strength, in voltage stabilizers to sort of boost sales?
In other categories.
In these other categories, I mean...
Like, is that even possible?
It's a classic cross-selling strategy, you know? But to pull it off, I mean, those other products really have to resonate with consumers.
They do.
They got to believe in them.
Right. They'd have to believe that V-Guard brings that same level of quality and reliability to fans or water heaters that they do to voltage stabilizers.
Exactly.
It makes you think about their brand identity.
Yeah.
Are they seen as the voltage stabilizer experts?
Yeah.
Or can they broaden that perception?
Right. Can they become, the go-to brand for all sorts of...
Yeah, all sorts of electrical needs.
Electrical needs, yeah.
And remember, that presentation also gave us some insight into the overall, market size and growth rate.
It did for those different categories.
For all these different categories.
And some of them, like electric fans and water heaters, those are pretty big markets.
Okay.
And they're expanding, steadily.
So the opportunity's there.
The opportunity is definitely there.
But as you pointed out earlier, I mean, it also means going head to head with some pretty established players.
With the big guys.
Yeah. Are they really ready for that battle?
It's a classic David and Goliath scenario, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
But David won that battle.
He did.
So, I mean, V-Guard's got a track record of success. So, So I wouldn't be surprised to see them make some significant gains.
Yeah.
In those markets. It'll be really interesting to see how they approach it.
I'm curious, from your perspective.
Yeah.
What are some of the key factors?
You mean what could make or break them?
Yeah.
In these more competitive areas?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, innovation's going to be key, I think.
Okay.
I mean, can they bring something new to the table?
Yeah.
Can they differentiate themselves from the competition?
Right.
Maybe they can leverage that, their understanding of the Indian consumer to develop products with unique features or benefits that really resonate with that market.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about, entering a market. It's about standing out in that market.
Standing out, yeah.
Yeah. So what else should they be thinking about?
Well, marketing and branding are going to be crucial, I think.
Okay.
I mean, they got to tell a compelling story about why consumers should choose them, over other brands.
Okay.
And it can't just be about, features or price.
Right.
It's got to connect with consumers on an emotional level, I think.
Okay.
Build that trust and loyalty.
So create a brand that people feel good about buying.
Exactly. It shouldn't just be a transaction. It should be
an experience.
An experience, yeah.
Like that.
And don't forget about their distribution network.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they've built a really strong presence in South India.
Right.
But can they replicate that success?
In other regions.
In other regions, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They might need to, invest in new partnerships.
Yeah.
Or explore different distribution models to reach those new customers.
So many moving parts.
That's a lot.
It's like they're playing a multi-level game,
Yeah.
Financial management, product development, marketing distribution.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
And don't forget about those external factors.
Right.
Like the economic environment or those unpredictable commodity prices.
Yeah. It's a lot to manage.
It is.
And there's always that risk of, overextending themselves, trying to do too much.
Yeah, they got to be strategic about it, I think, and prioritize, those initiatives with the highest potential return.
Focus is key.
Focus is key, exactly.
Right. And of course, we can't forget about the
Sunflame
acquisition.
Right. That integration needs to be managed carefully, I think.
It does. It does.
Streamlining operations, optimizing product lines, and maybe most importantly, creating a unified brand identity.
Yeah, like bringing it all together.
Yeah, it's not just about, adding a brand to their portfolio.
Right.
It's about making it a seamless part of the V-Guard family.
It's a complex picture.
It is.
Internal strengths, external challenges, short-term goals, long-term vision.
All intertwined.
It's all intertwined.
But that's what makes business so fascinating, right?
It is.
It's a constant game of adaptation, innovation.
Right.
Calculated risk-taking.
Yeah, and in a market like India, as dynamic as it is,
right,
the ability to adapt and innovate, that's paramount.
It is.
It's not enough to just react to changes.
No, they
got to be ahead of the curve.
You got to anticipate what's coming next.
Right.
And position themselves accordingly.
That takes vision.
It does.
And a really deep understanding of the market.
Deep understanding, yeah.
But before we get too carried away with the future, let's bring it back to the listener for a second. Yeah. Why should they care about all of this?
Well, for investors, this deep dive offers, valuable insights into V-Guard's financial health, their growth prospects, and potential risks.
Right.
Information that can, help them make better investment decisions.
Informed decisions.
Informed decisions, exactly.
And even for those who aren't, directly invested in V-Guard, I think this story provides a glimpse into a rapidly growing and evolving sector.
The Indian consumer market it's booming.
It is.
It's full of opportunities and challenges.
For sure.
And V-Guard's journey, I think, really exemplifies, the skill and determination that's needed to navigate that landscape.
Like succeed in that kind of environment.
Exactly.
And as we've discussed, they're at a pivotal point.
A crossroads.
Yeah. They've got a solid foundation.
They do.
A track record of success. But they also face, some critical choices about how they grow and evolve.
In the coming years.
Yeah. Decisions that'll ultimately determine their long-term success.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch.
It really does, so many possibilities, so many different paths they could take. It makes you think, if you were advising V-Guard's leadership team.
Oh, wow.
What would you suggest they focus on?
Okay.
Where do you see the greatest opportunities? And maybe even more importantly, where are the potential pitfalls?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
They're doing a lot right. But, you can't just rest on your laurels in the business world.
You can't.
You got to be constantly innovating,
right,
adapting, anticipating what's next.
So no time to get complacent.
No, not at all.
All right, so let's put on our strategic advisor hats for a minute here.
Right.
And explore some potential paths forward.
Yeah.
For V-Guard. Where should they focus their energy?
Well, one option is to double down on their existing strengths.
Okay.
Solidify their dominance in those categories where they're already the market leader.
Like voltage stabilizers.
Exactly, yeah.
They've built a really strong reputation there.
They have.
So what would that look like?
Well, they could, focus on expanding their product line within those categories.
Okay.
Maybe introduce even more, premium models or target specific customer segments with, specialized features.
Okay.
It's all about, leveraging what you're already good at.
Play to your strengths.
Exactly. Play to your strengths.
Well, what about, those other categories where they have a smaller market share, like fans, UPS systems, even the kitchen appliances they acquired through Sunflame?
Right.
Could they make a real push in those areas?
They could, but that would require a different strategy.
How so?
It'd be less about, leveraging existing dominance and more about convincing consumers to choose them
over
established players.
Okay.
And that's where, marketing and brand building become really, really critical.
Yeah, it's almost like they'd be starting from scratch in some ways.
Kinda, yeah. Even though they have that existing brand recognition,
right.
They need to, craft a compelling narrative.
Yeah.
Build that trust.
Yeah.
Differentiate themselves from the competition.
So it's a higher risk, higher reward kind of approach.
Yeah, I think so.
And of course, there's always the option of, exploring entirely new markets or product categories.
Oh yeah, no, that's where things could get really interesting.
I know. Think outside the box. Or
outside the electrical box.
Outside the electrical box. There you go.
Maybe they leverage, their understanding of the Indian consumer.
Yeah.
To develop innovative solutions for emerging needs. Smart home technology, energy efficient appliances. I mean, those are areas with huge growth potential.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are really exciting.
They are.
But as with any, bold move, I mean, there are potential pitfalls.
There are.
So what are some of the challenges that they need to be mindful of?
Well, one risk is, overextending themselves.
Okay.
Spreading their resources too thin.
Right.
Across too many initiatives.
Yeah, it's that classic growth dilemma, right?
It is. How much is too much?
Exactly. How much is too much? And they'll need to be strategic, prioritize those projects with the highest potential return.
Absolutely.
Focus is key.
And of course, there's the ongoing challenge of managing that Sunflame integration.
Right. We've talked about the profit dip, the potential integration issues.
Yeah, to make that acquisition truly successful, they'll need to focus on, streamlining operations, optimizing product lines, and perhaps most importantly, creating that unified brand identity.
Bringing it all together.
Exactly.
It's a lot to consider.
It is.
It's a complex equation, balancing internal strengths, external challenges, short-term goals, long-term vision.
And as we've discussed, there are no easy answers.
There aren't, no.
The best path forward for V-Guard, it's going to depend on a multitude of factors.
It really is. Yeah, it's a complex picture, but as you said earlier, that's what makes business so fascinating.
It is. It's a constant game of adaptation.
Yeah.
Innovation, calculated risk-taking.
And in a market as dynamic and exciting as India, those who can adapt and innovate, they're the ones that are going to thrive.
They are.
So to our listeners out there, we encourage you to continue your own research on V-Guard.
Yeah, keep digging.
Dig deeper into their story.
Explore those different paths.
Think about those paths we've discussed.
Form your own conclusions.
Stay curious, keep questioning, and never stop learning.
That's right.
Who knows, maybe someday you'll be the one advising V-Guard on their next big move.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.